Hello and welcome. Today we've got Clayton Thomas and we are going to be discussing quantum ceuticals. Now, just before we begin, you can subscribe to our Telegram channels and to nicholasveniamin.com for my free email updates. And if you're watching this for the first time on YouTube, I will leave the link below in the description for the full interview. Unless, of course, myself and Clayton can choose our words wisely due to the insane censorship that's happening right now. Clayton, thank you for joining me. How are you and what have you been up to?
Nicholas of Glorious, thanks for having me, even on short notice. It's been an amazing beginning of 2022, right? You know, we look at the chaos that 2021 started with and what we endured in 2022. We knew it was going to be a shift, and it's been absolutely amazing. It's been a fun run so far. So, I mean, you look at how amazing January's been. I'm here with you. So it's been great. You know, you've had my amazing wife on before, so now I get my shot. So thanks for having me.
And just to let the viewers know that your wonderful wife is Dr. Christina Rahm. And I'm pleased give her my regards. And it's been a wonderful honor having her. She's so, knowledgeable on the pharmaceutical that she's, shared with us. So where do we begin with quantum ceuticals, and what is it exactly that you would like to share with the viewers today? I mean, if I can just let you do a very short presentation about what it is today you would like to share with the viewers, and then we can go ahead with some questions and answers.
No, absolutely. I think the important part is what we just hit on initially. The one key is the formulator, and what we know about supplements and whether it's foods or water. And we know that you can structure water with intention, right? We know that prayer can structure water. Dr. Emoto's research, has very well established how our energy, how our intention can play into, creating the environment around us. And the most important thing to understand is Christina is a completely different being than what we've seen. And she was actually put here to actually deal with the environment as it is now. And that was something, a prophecy that was put over her about 25 years ago. So it's really unique in the intention, but what she's been able to do because of her background, because of how her mind works, her experience, like you talked about, coming from biotech and pharma, having postdoctoral work at Harvard in nanotechnology and bioscience engineering, but being a mom of 4, having cancer, having Lyme disease, losing kids to cancer, having family members that have had, serious health conditions. And through her journey, she's always created solutions for herself and for her family that have been integrative, having access to the highest levels of biotech and pharma, but knowing that nature has always been there to provide. And what she's been on is a journey to learn, understand, and to use a lot of the mechanisms that are used in biotech and pharma, but instead of trying to synthesize what nature has created to create mechanisms that can be drugs, she's learned and figured out how to take what nature's provided and amplify, those components, combine them properly to create what are quantum ceuticals. So really the important part today is understanding the environment that we're in, but more importantly, also understanding that this environment is something that is and was created multi-generations prior to us. And it's been a campaign to block us from our primary antenna, right? Our pineal gland, keep us from being connected to our source, loading us with heavy metals and environmental toxins that are the negative antennas that poison us, that keep us sick, that put us in a position where we are receptacles for negative information, holding on to trauma, emotional trauma, spiritual issues. 5G is a big conversation right now. 5G is not the problem. The problem is you are an antenna for the negative frequencies coming from those. She understands all of that, and she created a platform, that I was able to build a company around, with the foundation being removing the environmental toxins, the heavy metals, the glyphosate, the graphene, the mold, the fungus, and those last 2 are the key component to what's going on currently. It's the reason that ivermectin is hated, because it's anti-parasitic. It helps get rid of the fungus, the mold, and the ability to address those from the foundation is what's crucial for overall wellness, well-being, and achieving a greater level of performance than what you've ever understood. But you also hear the foundation of gut health, right? You know that your immune system starts in your gut, your digestion, your microbiome, your virome, your ability to create neurotransmitters. This is something that has not been hit on. We've been worn out for 2 years, right? We are in sympathetic overdrive. Your fight or flight response is through the roof right now. So we are fatigued, whether we like it or not. The key is dopamine and serotonin. You've got to boost your dopamine and serotonin. It's dopamine and serotonin that overcome stress. It's dopamine and serotonin that make everything fun. It's serotonin and the conversion of serotonin through a decalcified pineal gland that actually converts to melatonin that allows you to sleep. It's the extra serotonin that converts to DMT that allows you to dream. So you have these pathways that she understands that we haven't seen in nutraceutical science, and we really haven't seen in pharmaceutical science, that she's combined all of it to create 3 foundational products that we call the Trinity with Clean Slate, Zero In, and Restore that are the key foundation. And then we just released 2 new products that she's built in addition to those, because you've probably heard that a combination of vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc is really, really crucial for immune function. And we've known that for, 100 years, but being able to have them in the right combinations with the right amounts, with the right quality, because vitamin C is not vitamin C, right? You have to have the right kind of vitamin C. And what she's done is source the most expensive, most efficacious sources of vitamin C, combined it with the right amounts and the quality of zinc, sulfate, and the right combination of vitamin D. And we put it at a price that it's about 1/3 of the cost of everything else on the market. So we call that natural barrier support. And then she created a product called Relive Greens, which is the greatest greens product I've ever taken, I've ever seen. And we can probably talk about that a little bit. But the key is really looking at foundationally. We have issues. We've had issues for a long time. This is not a 2-year thing. It's your entire life that you've been exposed since you were in the womb going forward. We've got to address all of that. When you start to do that, your body starts to come back in line and you get to experience a functional level of which is completely unfamiliar to you.
Right. So this is the foundational nutrients that you're saying that we need to take control of and responsibility so that we can start opening up the pineal gland that has been suppressed by our controllers, correct?
Absolutely. And it's important to know one thing, because what we've been taught and what's been marketed for so long is supplement, eat right, exercise, lifestyle, right? It's addition. The key is actually addition by subtraction. The first thing you have to do, which is why she made Clean Slate, is to remove, right? There's nothing that you can add that is going to decalcify your pineal gland because it's calcified with fluoride. So you have to remove the fluoride. You've got to remove the mercury, the lead, the aluminum. People are now familiar with graphene. You need to remove viral particles and viral fragments. Kind of important right now. This is something that does all of that. So the first thing, the foundation, is to remove. And by starting to remove passively, slowly, the rest of your body starts to come in line. And then when you start to add the other foundational components, like Restore is designed to, bring that leaky gut back together. It's designed to kill off the mold and the fungus, because that's what's killing people right now. People don't have respiratory issues because of a virus. People have respiratory issues because your immune system drops that causes a proliferation of mold and fungus, and it explodes in you. It explodes in your lungs. It explodes in your gut. And if you're immune compromised, or if you have multiple comorbidities, it will kill you. We want to prevent that as much as possible. So you have to have these foundational components. As you start to fix the gut, then you need to fix the connection between the gut and the brain, the vagus nerve connection, which is neurotransmission. And that's where Zero In is really important, because it feeds your gut, which is where 95% of those neurotransmitters are produced, the ability to produce more serotonin and dopamine naturally. When you have those, you function at a level that is absolutely amazing. We have elite athletes, world record holding athletes that in a clinical case study, the top outdoor distance swimmer in the world saw 40% improvement in his reaction time. That is absurd. I was a sprinter in college. If you can improve your reaction time by 10%, you're untouchable if you're already elite. 40% is absolutely ridiculous. And so being able to see that from an elite standpoint and knowing that you can translate that on down from a baby in aspects of using Clean Slate from a developmental standpoint, but as you age, adding these other components, it's like nothing we've ever seen before.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You know, you mentioned earlier that we have a negative antenna that attracts the bad guys or the bad systems, you know, frequencies. How do we turn into a positive antenna?
So this goes back to your key point when we talk about the pineal gland, right? The pineal gland is the light center of the brain. So when you look at that, you have to understand both components. The light center being one, it's what controls your circadian rhythm. It's what converts light to dark when you're supposed to sleep. Your pineal gland is what converts serotonin into melatonin. And because they've done such a great job of calcifying this over the last 1,000 years and multiple generations, right? The calcification of the pineal gland disconnects our ability to get restful sleep. But the pineal gland is also the light center of the brain when it comes to our spirituality. It is our primary antenna to our source. And you can hear Sasha Stone talk about this. Simon Parks just did an interview with Christina, and he did a great job of talking about it. If you've done any research into the pineal gland, you understand that is our primary antenna. So what they've done is they figured out how to calcify that, how to disconnect the antenna. And then they loaded us with what they call the soft metals: mercury, cadmium, arsenic, lead, aluminum, cesium, strontium, gadolinium. You can go down a list. But lead, aluminum, and mercury are all neurotoxins. They love to get stored in the brain and the central nervous system. And if you remember, if you're old enough, that if you had a television back in the day, 20, 30 years ago, and you had a house, you had an antenna on your house to receive signals. You have an antenna on your car to receive frequencies. It's aluminum. They resonate. They receive signals. They've loaded us through multiple generations, through mothers into babies, and then whether it's from getting injected with things because you have to have your shots, right, as a baby and going through. And they've used thimerosal, which is mercury. They've used aluminum as adjuvants to put in there just to load us up a little bit. So they load us with those antennas. But you have to understand heavy metals. They're neurotoxins. Mercury is the worst neurotoxin known to man. Second most deadly chemical known to man, besides dioxin. If you remove the radioactive isotopes, mercury is the second most deadly chemical known. But they've been loading us with it forever. So mercury is a +3 in charge, right? So you have to understand how evil this stuff is. And it's a neurotoxin, so it's positively charged. What do positively charged things like to hold on to? Negative things, negative emotion, trauma, all of the things that we're not supposed to naturally hold on to. These things grasp onto, they hold on to them. And then as they're sending other frequencies, whether it's through antennas, if it's through 5G, if it's through radio frequencies, those things start to cause issue because our cells start to resonate with things that we're not made to resonate with. If you don't have an antenna on your car and you're trying to listen to an FM radio station or an AM radio station, if you don't have the antenna, you can't receive the signal. We're made that way, the same way. If you don't have the negative antennas in your system, you won't receive the signals. If you decalcify your primary antenna, you're going to start receiving those signals, which allows you to be more protective over the negative. This is the key.
And you're saying that Dr. Christina Rahm has come together with these nutrients that are organic, that can detoxify these antennas that they have been putting in our bodies for God knows how long. And now, you know, let's talk about what happens to us and what is the experience that we will have once they are out.
Simply greatness, but it's a process to get there.
Can you be a bit more specific?
Absolutely. Because everybody's different, right? We are all human, arguably. Some of us aren't from here, but we're in the same suit, right? Christina's one of those. I don't think she's from here. The science says that she's not from here. But the key is understanding that as humans, we all suffer from the same condition, right? We're all human, but we are all unique because of our environment, what's in us, the intricacies of our genetics, right? And epigenetic factors. And epigenetics is more influential than genetics because you can change your epigenetics, which is actually changing your DNA expression. So each individual is going to experience different things, and the process is different for everyone, right? Things that we've seen. I mean, your body starts to change quickly. We've done some work with Dr. Stefan Rao, who's in Germany, who's a PhD virologist, immunologist, medical technologist. He's a leading researcher in vitamin D and in the autism spectrum. He uses a couple devices that measure heart rate variability in different manners that are very well established scientifically. So they're using physics. What he's proven through multiple case studies is that using the Trinity, using Clean Slate, Zero In and Restore, actually in a matter of minutes makes you biologically younger, decreases your risk for cardiovascular issues, kind of important in today's world, improves cognitive function, improves restful sleep. We've seen with your aura basically goes supernova. So energetically, whether it's your aura, your Chinese meridians, your doshas, or your chakras, all begin to align and express more effectively. So you basically hit your computer with Control-Alt-Delete and do a complete system reboot. Mm-hmm. And when you turn back on, your processing, your system is upgraded, and it's upgraded every time you do it. So through this process, it's what I like to talk about because we went over it with athletes when I was younger, training athletes. You want to make your bed. This is the key for everyone. If you take one thing away, just do this. I don't care how you do it, but make your bed every day. Better every day. That's it. That's all we can strive for, that each one of us should be better every day. And we've proven that using the Trinity, so Clean Slate, Zero In and Restore, and then when you add in Relive and Natural Barrier Support and some of the other components that she's building beyond that, you will be better every day. You can't not be, because we've already proven the mechanisms of action. We've already seen it clinically in labs, in clinical case studies, in outcomes that science can't explain because they haven't been able to do it prior with some major health conditions that are very well established, one of which the medical establishment in the United States knows that 30% of the United States population of all ages has, like non-alcoholic fatty liver, which applies to the issues that people are talking about with post getting stuck or post getting sick, that your liver function is what's crucial. Your liver is your primary detoxifying organ. And we know that if you're loaded with toxins, your body is going to store toxins in fat, which is why people get fat and inflamed over time, because we're polluted. Your liver has the same issue. If your liver is loaded with toxins, it's going to create fat stores in your liver to protect it, to keep it going. Well, then you get a fatty liver and your liver becomes unfunctional. So you can't convert vitamin D properly. You can take all the vitamin D supplements you want. You can be in the sun all you want, but your liver is unable to convert what you're taking in into the proper forms of vitamin D in your body. So you have to understand, it's not just the supplementation standpoint. As you start to bring these things back online, you're going to start working better. And we've got clinical case studies of taking fatty livers down to normal livers in a really short period of time. So as you start to see these things, you go, oh, that's beneficial. And then when you start adding in these other components, you start to see that, hey, I'm better today than I was yesterday. And we've seen that you will get younger biologically. Chronologically, you're going to be here, but we know that the key is to die young as late as possible, right? We want to die old, really young. And that's really what we're doing.
So what made Dr. Christina Ram come together and create these organic, nutrients that our body needs that is a big threat to big pharma?
She was made for this, actually, which is the really unique part. You really have to understand and accept that we come from a creator, right? And some of us are put here for things that we might not understand. We all have a mission and a purpose. She was actually put here specifically for this. And if you understand, you get to understand her background a little bit. You go, well, how is that the case? Well, as a kid growing up, she had a photographic memory. She can remember at 6 years old she had an instance where she was put under a lot of stress. She was scared, and she can remember having a conversation with Christ, that he came to her and said, look, you're my child. You're fine. You're put here. As long as you're here, I'm protecting you. You're good. Don't be afraid of anything. 25 years ago, she had a prophecy put over her that she was put here to heal people in a war on healthcare. She was at Pfizer at the time. But to backtrack a little bit, when she was 19, she won National History Day in middle school because she had a photographic memory. It wasn't fair. She could look at a book. Everything was memorized. She lost her memory when she was 19 because she had Lyme disease, got meningitis, wiped the slate clean, didn't know her name, didn't know where she grew up. She came out of that after 2 years with an eidetic memory and the ability to speed read, which is not fair now. So she has the ability to process information and compile information like we've never seen. But with this prophecy, and it wasn't one time that she's been told this, it's been multiple times. She spent time with Foster and Kimberly Gamble 5 years ago. They explained to her a couple things. One, they've never met a being like her before. They told her that there was going to be a viral attack on the globe. They wanted her to go to Wuhan or Costa Rica to go work on retroviruses because 7 years ago, she was working with the Chinese government setting up hospitals, very closely connected over there. She's been at the forefront of biotech. She's been at Pfizer, Alexion, Biogen, Johnson & Johnson, UCB, Bristol Myers Squibb. 16 years ago, when she was at Bristol Myers Squibb, she was on the research team doing HIV research with these mRNA vaccines. Mm-hmm. How does one have all of these life experiences without having a purpose? And you have to understand, it's the interesting part is she was made for this. This is what she was here for. So we know that we're only given what we need when the proper time presents itself, right? God is always provided when we are of greatest need. She was put here specifically for this, to provide the solutions for what we're dealing with. The data shows that, right? So that's really the key. And it's one thing that people go, oh, well, how do you know? It's like, well, this is what she's here for. And if you don't believe it, that's okay. Christ had his problems too.
Well, I've spoken to Dr. Christina. I've interviewed her many times and on the phone, and she's a wonderful, wonderful person. I really resonate with her, and I thank you for what she's done. And I'd happily leave the link below in the description so that people can have a look. They can ask you questions. But Clayton Thomas, it's been an absolute honor to have you on my show for the first time, and to know that it's Christina's husband. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to the viewers before we finish?
No, go to the link below. And if you want more information, go to our YouTube channel, The Root Brand on YouTube, and you can get a massive amount of information on there. Case studies. There's over 100 hours of content provided by a bunch of really smart PhDs. And do your research. Ask questions. A lot of the answers are already provided, but most importantly, try it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Clayton. I will speak very soon. God bless you. Bye-bye.